Welcome to SML Total Access, where we break down news, predictions, and more in our Madden League. Now, let's get fired up for SML football.
Hello and welcome back to SML Total Access. I'm Primetime 000, and with me is Dan and Matt. What's going on, fellas?
Not much. Just congratulations to the 19-time champ. You know, all the praise, all the honor is deserved. You are the winner. You get the spoils. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. Hey, speaking of championship, that's topic one is SML Super Bowl 46 recap. Matt, we'll start with you. Did you watch the game? What'd you think?
Yeah, I watched the game. I had it on the big screen. As I always do for the Super Bowl, it's the big moment in the SML. And of course, this Super Bowl was huge with two giants of the league facing off against each other. It didn't go how I expected. I did expect you to win, but being up 28-7 in the third quarter, even late in the third quarter, was quite a shock. Faz's game plan kind of shocked me. We saw a lot of flat routes. I did expect Faz to attack downfield more, especially against you, someone who tends to be able to play the flats really well. I know that personally, playing you twice a year. If you watch that game back, and I don't know if Faz will or won't, but if he does, he's going to notice a lot of missed opportunities downfield. He took those checkdowns. He threw a couple picks as a result. Honestly, a couple of his picks look like picks I throw versus you. They're panic throws. You don't really see anything open. You just throw it to the flat because you think it's open, but you're playing prime and it's not open because you crash the flat so well. I thought the ending was crazy. The fumble had me a little bit scared. But Quentin Nelson, I don't know when his contract is up, but I think he's going to get paid pretty big. So congratulations, Prime. It was a great game. If you didn't watch it, I would suggest going back and taking the time to watch it, even if you're just skipping through. Meats and Dom did a good job as well. It was a great Super Bowl.
Yeah, real quick, Prime. Did you have conservative carry on?
No. All game I had normal, and then on the fumble, it was 3rd and 6, and I was like, you know what? You don't win championships by being conservative. So I turned it on aggressive, and then I got hit sticked and fumbled.
Wow. I don't know if too many people actually use aggressive, so that's pretty bold there, bold play. I actually didn't get a chance to watch it in live because I was traveling. I got to go back see some highlights of it. But I really agree with Matt. Matt has got a good eye, keen eye to observe some things, and really, I think when we've talked about this before, winners and sometimes losers, the difference comes down to a mental aspect. And I think once CMC went out, I think that shook him. And he lost that aggressiveness. Like when Faz played me, he was very, very aggressive, a little bit against tendency. And so that played in his favor, and I couldn't stop him. And I think to this game, when CMC went out, he went back to a little bit more of what he normally does, and Prime was ready for it. A lot of going against Faz that day. I know he's got a lot of breaks in this Madden season, but I know that travel, I'm sure, didn't help. But hey, Prime, congratulations just one more time, because you did what you said you're going to do. You did what was needed to do, and you got your Sombardi for the cycle, and now all the pressure's off. Now you can roll, and who knows what you can do the rest of the season. So again, congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Faz is a good player, and like you said, in big games, it comes down to execution and who's gonna kind of be able to keep their cool when something goes wrong, because usually it does. And thankfully, Quentin Nelson picked up the fumble. But at the end of the day, there are so many plays throughout the game that happen, that mistakes are made and things happen that could have changed the outcome, and getting up by 21 points against Faz is definitely a good thing to do. And actually, it's my third straight game against Faz where I've been up by 2 scores or more. So it's kind of interesting. But anyway, moving on now to second down. Season 46 as a whole, guys. I think it was a good SML season. I think we had some good stuff happen, some playoff upsets. What do you guys think about just that, maybe, and just season 46 as a whole? And Dan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that was my thought right off the bat. Was it was actually a really entertaining season. Not only the playoffs, but leading up to the playoffs, the amount of teams that had shots and then folded, and then different things that played out and happened. Who plays it seems to be who plays the NFC North, or AFC North, NFC South, and having to go through the tougher schedule, and so all those things, it just adds to that dynamic. So really, really good season overall. Having Bomber get upset, having I guess I think D Muse is kind of rising up a little bit, but I still think that was an upset over QP, and I think that's always good for the league. I think it was actually good that Faz and I had to play in the divisional round, and Paulie got a chance to be right on the cusp of a Sombardi, even though he didn't win it. It's just like, hey, one game and something can happen. Like, the more that we get that added, or those extra things and different teams and different scenarios, it's just great for the league. So I'm excited for next season. I think this is just going to keep building, and SML's in a really good place.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought season 46 had a lot of parity, which we're not entirely used to. I mean, we get some, but at the end of the day, as I've always said, it comes down to the big five, and that's traditionally been true. But this time we saw some parity. I thought we saw the NFC East rise up. I know they faltered at the end, but that was a very competitive division for the majority of the season, which isn't always the case. I do think those records again were inflated by their schedule, but it was just nice to see, you know, that division being a little bit more interesting throughout the whole season. As far as the upsets in the AFC, that's a good question. QP and Bomber going down early, and not just going down early, but I mean, who they lost to, guys that are good players, but I wouldn't expect them to lose those games in the playoffs. And I wonder if just the battle and the grinding that is the AFC North takes a toll on them. 6 times a year, and I'm including RD in that because I mean he's still a good player. He just hasn't figured things out. They got to grind and grind and grind to try and win those games. And that's not even talking about maybe if they get the or the NFC South or something like that. So I don't know what happened there. I don't want to call it a fluke because both of those guys, nothing crazy happened. They just lost those games. They got outplayed. Bomber got outplayed by Meats, and QP got outplayed by Dom. And so it'll be interesting to see what they do going into the next season. And then it'll be interesting to see if Dom can keep up the momentum because we've seen it before. He loves those noodle arm QBs, and he is made another run, was close to the Super Bowl. So I think it was a great season for parity. I hope we see it again. I'm just not counting on it.
Yeah, it was loaded with a bunch of things. And in the NFC, what was like at one point 4 or 5 teams running for the final 2 playoff spots. Graham's losing out. Obviously, Doink faced choking against Finns. And then the AFC, I mean, it was Meats and then Matt. And then Meats gets blown out like week 18 against Coop. And then he turns around and beats Bomber in a stunner. And then obviously, I think QP right around the time he lost to me in the middle of the regular season, around that time frame, something flipped in his head. Like, I don't know, he might have had some personal stuff going on, but he seems like he's in a funk right now, Madden-wise. So I'm not totally shocked by the D-Muse thing, but that was still a crazy moment, and it goes to show any given Sunday in the SML. But I think it was a good season, like you guys, just to echo those thoughts. Seeing Meats get a win, seeing Dom get a win, and then seeing Fens knocked Doink out, and all that stuff made it just one of our better seasons in recent memory. And then obviously having a good competitive Super Bowl at the end anyway. Always good for the league.
Real quick,
Yeah.
real quick, Prime. Do you feel a little bit like you got a clean or a real kind of cupcake way to win a Super Bowl with not having to play Bomber, QP, and then you play Faz without CMC? Like, you a little asterisk on that Super Bowl?
Yeah, I thought about that a little bit. No, because at the end of the day, I take pride in, and more often than not in the playoffs, beating the guys I'm supposed to or I should beat. And if that's Meats, if that's Dom, then so be it. And if Bomber and QP can't do that, then that's kind of on them. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's what separates the elite of the elite to the very good. And I take pride in, hey, you know what? It might not be cool, it might not be flashy, but yeah, I beat the guys I'm supposed to, and I take advantage of any opportunity I get more often than not. And maybe that's not the cool thing, but it works.
No, I think it just makes a good narrative. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I want to chime in there because in my opinion, so he played, he didn't have to play Bomber or QP, but that's because they got beat by guys that he did have to beat. So it's not like Bomber, had to go away and then didn't make the playoffs because of some sims, and so it was then I got in his place and it was he he didn't play those guys because they got beat, and then he beat the people that beat them. So I don't take any of that away. And then with Faz losing CMC, Faz gives you some flack, Dan, for coward ball and running the ball. CMC's a running back. Why does that matter to Faz?
Yep.
So I know he's a weapon in the passing game, but if you're a really good passer, the running back shouldn't be your primary weapon. So, and if you watch that game, I don't think CMC was the tipping point. I think Prime was playing really good football even before CMC went out. I know that he had scored a touchdown when CMC got hurt, but I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, and one final thing, I did play the 4 of the Big Five. Obviously, I'm number 5 of the Big Five this year, and I went 4-1. 4-1. Obviously, I played fast twice, but 4-1 against the Big Five this year, so I'll take it. Hey, let's move on. Topic 3, and Matt, we'll start with you. Who has the most to prove next season? SML. This feels weird. Season 47.
Yeah, this when I saw this question, someone immediately came to mind, and it's their own doing. It's Dump. You know, just it doesn't seem like that long ago, because it wasn't, that Dan lost to Fast in the playoffs, and the first message I think I saw was Dump chirping at Dan, one and done, or folding chair, all these kind of things, and then he goes out and loses his next game to Paulie, who, in my opinion, is an inferior opponent to Faz. No offense to Paulie, great player, obviously, but I think Faz is a step ahead. So I think Dump. I think it's a motivation for him to talk the trash, to post the Mike Tyson gifs, that kind of thing. But outside of season 1, when the NFC was, everybody was basically in the AFC as far as the ultra elite, except for QP, who had a stock Lions roster. Outside of that season, when he had the Cardinals, who, in my opinion, are probably a top 3 Madden team, he hasn't really made a run. And he talked about Paulie and how Paulie's going to do the same thing and he's going to attack it, and that's exactly what happened, but he didn't win. So I think it's Dump, and just it's Dump's own fault. If you want to talk the talk, he's going to have to walk the walk, and he's running out of time.
Yeah, Dump was one of my guys too, and not only all the stuff that you said, I think right on, Matt, but look at his roster now. I mean, his roster, that Eagles team is loaded. They got X factors and superstars all the way up and down the field on that defense. There is absolutely zero excuse for him not to make some kind of run in the NFC. I'm also going to put Doink. Doink's got to be out there too. I mean, that collapse that he had, losing 5, I think, of his last games to miss the playoffs. That's going to be there. I think Faz. I mean, now Faz is 0 for 2 in Super Bowls. I think, as part of the will he win one this cycle narrative is going to be out there. And depending how off seasons go, other teams are going to start catching up to some of what his team can do. So, I think that's there. I think, guys that, the NFC North, you've got, everyone's kind of push Finns, and I don't think they're joking when they do it. They think Finns can make a push. Okay, Finns, you got to make a push somewhere. Like, you beat Doinkface in a big game, like, you can do it. So let's try to make a push for that division. Will Clink take a next step? He's probably going to win the division. Can he win 1 or 2 games in the playoffs and make some noise? So I think there's a lot of good narratives going into it. I think that's going to be a great season.
Yeah, I've got a few. I got a random one here. I'm gonna say Dom, actually. He's fringe, good, very good player. Could be great player, but I mean, and this is just from a viewer aspect. I'm not trying to puff myself up, but it seems like there's one team he can't beat in the playoffs, and that's the Colts. And that's really what's holding him back, it seems like. And he had a lead in that AFC championship game, so I think that's somebody who he's got some pressure on him to see if he can get over the hump. I think Bomber, 2 seasons ago, we missed the playoffs, and then he finally makes a return to the playoffs, and then he goes 1 and done against Meats. I mean, you can spin it any way you want, but that's a freaking upset. And after trading Baker Mayfield to miss the playoffs and then lose to Meats the season after that, I mean, you got to question a lot in Cleveland, I think. But I think that said, bar none, it's Faz being the guy with the most pressure. He took Buffalo with the escape artist, gunslinger quarterback, loses both seasons, I think, in the divisional round, 1 and done both seasons, I think, or at least close to it. And then the Panthers, I believe, are what is looked at as one of the best connected franchise teams to take. And now he's 0 for 3 seasons with the Panthers. So as a guy who was always viewed as one of the best in the SML, for him to take these great, amazing teams and to have nothing to show for it, I think the pressure's starting to mount for Faz.
I agree.
Let's move on now to fourth down. Off season's coming up, and Dan, we'll start with you. Hey, it looks like we got 3 seasons to go. What's your strategy, or do you have anything just to say in general about the off season?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most critical times, obviously, in building a good team. And we saw last year, with you making some pretty sneaky moves, stealing Honey Badger away from me and Fig, and setting up your secondary the way that you did. And I got Russell Wilson last year. I think that dramatically changed my offense. So I think everyone that's looking at their team right now has to go into it and be like, I got to take my shot. Like, it's not about maybe acquiring as many assets as you used to, because we only got 3 seasons left. It's a little bit longer to develop. I think this might be the last most important draft, but I'm looking to say, like, okay, who's the big guy out there? Who's the guy that's gonna, maybe they're a little older, but they've got the right position, they got the right abilities. They're gonna transform my team. Some guys just have to look and say, hey, I've been doing the same thing for the last 3 seasons, and it's only gotten me so far. Maybe I need to change something up, and I just need to go for it. So that would be my biggest suggestion, biggest tip for the guys in the offseason. Well, what's the one position you need? What's the one shot? And maybe you give up some good talent, but you got to go get it and go get it.
Yeah, I'm certainly not in a position to be giving advice, so I'll just talk about what I'm doing and what I'm seeing around the league. So for me, the nice thing about having the Jaguars, I haven't made a single trade this entire post blip. Not a single trade. The nice thing about the Jaguars is like the team is set up, but you just gotta. They're where you're weak, you're still young, so I've wanted to develop those guys. And then everybody else is just. I mean, I feel like there's not really a hole. I need to make a move. I don't want to trade any of my guys. No one's going to be retiring. No one's regressing. I think Miles Jack's my oldest player, and he's like 29 now. So I'm just going to stay the course. If I see something I like, maybe I'll go for it. But I've just kind of been building through the draft and building with what I have. One thing I really noticed was I noticed that Dom put Darren Waller on the block initially. I think Dom went through the playoffs without Darren Waller and almost made a Super Bowl and thought, hey, maybe I don't need him. Maybe this backup is fine, or maybe just I could downgrade a little bit and be okay. But Waller can get me maybe some defensive pieces or wherever I think I'm lacking to get over the hump. He obviously took him off the block. It sounds like there was a cap penalty issue that is going to prevent that. But I think Dan hit the nail on the head. That's Dom looking at his team, looking what he accomplished without arguably his best player, and realizing where he's weak and trying to fix that. What I think is going to be tough is if you're looking at the trade block right now, it's a bunch of old offensive linemen and average players. I think this late in the season, people are hesitant to get rid of the better players because there's not much time left. So I think the draft is going to be extremely important for everyone. And I'm kind of curious to see, especially with some of the big dogs, Bomber and QP falling out early. Do they think there's a hole on their team that caused it? Did they just have a bad game? I'm curious what they do.
Yeah, the cool thing is you really can change the whole outlook of your team in one off season. If you look pre-blip, I think it was the off season where QP got Justin Herbert and I think a receiver to go along with him, a rookie receiver, if I'm not mistaken. That Lions team completely changed overnight. You look 2 seasons ago with the Colts, I got Baker Mayfield, Robert Tonyan, and Deontay Harris all in one off season, and my whole team changed overnight. It can be done, but you have to be willing to take a risk. And I think sometimes people are a little nervous to get blasted or roasted on these podcasts or shows, because you will. The talking heads will talk if you screw up, and you don't want to be tiny, trading away DK Metcalf, so to speak. So there is a lot of there's some of that, but at the end of the day, if you want to make a jump, if you're not getting the job done, I say now's the time to pull the trigger. You got 3 seasons left. Go all in and see what happens. And you never know what might happen. And anything can happen. D Muse made it to the AFC Championship game, beat QP, meets one against Bomber. I mean, Paulie made it. I mean, anybody can win if you make the right moves. So let's move on to the extra point. And hey, it's the Matt 5. Matt, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so I don't want to go into every week just talking about my top 5 SML players at the moment because we'll probably be talking about the same, 7, 8 guys every time. So I kind of wanted to give some other guys a chance to be on a list. So I'll switch this up. It may be the top 5 if that's what I feel is relevant. But at this point, I went with what we saw a lot in the playoffs, as we always do, is a lot of trash talk. So I went ahead and ranked my top 5 trash talkers. Of course, this is my list. If I miss somebody or if you disagree, then you're more than welcome to create your list. The criteria for this was, of course, humor, frequency, but most importantly, all 5 guys on this list do not take the trash talk too far, and I think that's the most important part. We don't want to get
That's
personal.
good. That's good.
So number 5, Old Man Woods. Woods is the Jiff King or the Giff King. I always called it a Jiff until I found out it was not. That's not how you pronounce it. He's the Giff King. He doesn't come into chat chirping a lot, but if someone comes at him, he can come right back at him. Bet as good as anyone. Number 4, I've got a host on this show. We got Dan. Um, Dan's kind of the same way, except Dan kind of when he takes a jab at you, sometimes you don't even know it, and you go back and you read it, and you're like, oh my god, Dan just burned me. I totally missed it. And of course, knowing Dan and knowing the family man that he is and his occupation, sometimes it's like, gosh, this guy's really giving it to me, and I didn't expect that. So. Dan's up there, and of course, obviously, Dan never takes it too far. Number 3 is NYT. If this was a funniest list in the league, he'd probably be number 1. But another GIF guy, but NYT will give it right to you. And you always know that NYT is coming from a good place, no matter what he says to you. And he gives me a lot of crap because of the Prime and Ice friendship, and I always giggle. Number 2 is Mike. Mike is not a guy you want to get in a trash talk with because I can pretty much guarantee you he's smarter than you are, and he'll use big words that you'll have to look up before you can rebuttal. But Mike's dynamic with Woods and the funeral and the evil tyrant, and it always makes me giggle. The Big Five is all scared of the Miami Dolphins. It's just all those kind of things add up and make me chuckle. But and then Mike goes and gets blown out, comes right back in and starts talking trash again. But it's different than other people that get blown out and continue to talk trash. And then number 1, I would think that the league would probably agree with this, and I think it's you, Prime. Obviously, you make the videos that when you're driving, and you just make the videos. But it's just the subtle things that you do. When you play D-Muse, D-Muse said, "Oh, he's got a golf trip coming up. I just got my golf outfit. It's fire." You replied and said, "I hope it doesn't fit." I mean, you talked about E. coli and Faz's Chipotle. It's the little things like that always make us laugh, and I think I think the videos are great for the league. It gets everybody talking. But those are my 5 guys who, again, they talk trash, but they don't take it too far. I think that's the most important thing. And maybe this list changes in the future. But that's my list. My top 5 trash talkers in the SML.
Yeah, I like
That's
it.
good.
I
That's good.
it.
I got a few I'm going to throw out a few honorable mentions. I think QP could be an honorable mention. I think some of the things he went after with Monty, I thought were pretty funny. I think I think Paulie and Klink are pretty good at it. I like their little feud going back and forth. I think both those guys are, it's whenever something happens, they're in there pretty quick and chirping at it. So. Those would be I just added on honorable mentions, but good list. Really good. I agree with all those.
Yeah, I agree with yours. Those are great. And I just want to say one thing. If anybody listening to this has an idea for a top 5, don't give me your top 5. Just what's the topic? Top 5 passers or whatever you think it might be, and maybe I'll use it on the show. So I'm open to other ideas from the league.
Yeah, no, that was a great list. I enjoyed that, and I like that you took out or made people lose points for going too far, because I think it's important that, hey, we're playing Madden and we're trying to have fun here. Let's not talk about anybody's mom or anything like that, So no, that's
well,
good.
and you guys, nobody knows what's going on in someone's life, so I think it's very important. They could be having a bad day, a bad week, or something. So I think it's important.
Yeah, actually, Matt, I think you're a solid trash talker in your own way, but and you find a way not to get upset, and that's the other thing too. You know who's actually pretty good? Meats finds a way to not get mad, and he is the butt of every joke. Meats gets he's got thicker skin than about 90% of the league, and I respect that.
props to Meats on that. If there was a list for thick skin, yeah, he's an easy number one. Yep, props to Meats.
So yeah, all right, guys. Well, hey, that is SML Total Access. We're nearing 25 minutes. That is the two stars of the show, Dan and Matt, and I'm Primetime 000. Until next time, you guys have a great day.